Hi, I'm Berlin.
I'm Fun Sue.
And I'm Ninja Master Phil, and we are the Foo Crew. This week we're taking a look at the new Gareth Evans action extravaganza, The Raid 2, Barandal, by popular request. For those that have been following the Raid series, this is a direct continuation. This starts merely hours after the Raid Redemption finishes. But it's pretty easy, you can pick it up even if you haven't seen The Raid 1 just yet. It starts off with Rama, played by Iko Uwais. His brother is murdered in the fallout of the events of the Raid Redemption, sending Rama kind of into a downspin emotionally, and eventually he joins in with an undercover police force attempting to ferret out corruption, the Indonesian police force, and try to get rid of the criminal enterprises that have been controlling them. As he enters the criminal underworld, he befriends one of the sons of one of the main bosses, Uko, and then it delves heavily into the relationship between Rama and Uko and his father and rival clan, his father and a Japanese Yakuza family that is active in the area. And the whole movie is kind of the build-up and fallout of this four-headed Hydra monstrosity of criminal enterprises in a city that really only has room for one.
So, I really love this movie, and my complaints, I loved almost everything in this movie. And what I didn't love is very, very minor. But the number one thing, it's a problem I had with Pacific Rim and other movies like that, and that segue will make more sense here in a second, is that when it's already hitting like a 2.5 hour time span, and it's chock full to the brim. And so when you get a movie, like action movies typically don't hit like much longer than the 2 hour mark, so when it hits that long, you kind of get a little bit more critical of where did they spend that time. And as a huge fan of like all the Scorsese mob movies and everything, at least the American side, I just have to be really critical. I don't know that the Japanese faction was really that necessary for this movie. You know, the counterpoint can be made, maybe the Japanese family is going to play a bigger role in the third movie, but, you know, I don't really use that as too much of an excuse because it's like, it's this movie that we're talking about, and like, it's not a ton of time, don't get me wrong, it's not a ton of time that gets paid to the Japanese. It's like maybe 10 minutes in the whole movie. When you're that squished and you have that much going on, and you're trying to bring up as many heavy points as this movie does, you know, that time could have been better spent. It just could have. Like, Rama and Uko's relationship is kind of glazed over. We only get like one positive event with them. You get one positive evening that turns into a negative evening, and then after that it's all negative. And then at the end, well, there's this, not to spoil anything, but like it gets that moment where like everybody's true colors get revealed, and it's like it's supposed to be more meaningful, like the "you were my brother" type moment. But it's like they weren't acting like brothers for a large portion of the movie, so like we could have had a few more scenes where they were to make that more impactful. And other things like that. Like there's just not, there's other areas where it could have been better spent. That being said, outside of the really minor complaint like that, it's just stuff full of awesome. Like it's, I saw a review somewhere that said it's what would happen if The Godfather, Ong Bak, and The Departed had a baby. Like that's just what this movie is.
I can see it.
That's what this movie is. It's a really well-paced, interesting crime syndicate movie that takes the time to set the characters up right. It's almost actually like Beiju's, the character Beiju's like entry speech into the movie is like indicative of the movie itself, because he's like, it's not a matter of what can we achieve with this movie, it's about taking it at the right steps at the right time. Like it's like, we're not skipping over any particular part of this. Like we're gonna show Rama's everyday life in this horrible prison. And then, ba-bum, then to the real world where he's a low-level grunt, ba-bum, and then to the climactic finish. It's like it's not The Raid where it's just like the entire movie's one climactic finish. Like, if you think about it. The action is top tier, the fighting styles are inventive, he's clearly not run out of tricks up his sleeve for more creative fighting scenes. Even just mook fights usually have like an interesting element he's added. Like they do a full-on Mook battle against Rama in a restaurant that still has people in it, like screaming and like, because they just ran in during lunch hour. And it's like fighting around people that aren't involved, and you know, using the environment got more creative. Like there's a hitman for Beiju's team that uses a baseball bat in like martial arts katas and everything, and it's like, it's interesting seeing just the blend and the creativity that went into designing a lot more of the scenes. Overall, very, very well done, very, very well executed. Could have used a little bit more polishing, but those are my thoughts on it.
The odd thing about this movie, when I went into it, is first of all, I actually have to give some props to Brolin, I believe it was, when we did our trailer reviews, was anticipating a very slow burn leading an explosive climax, where I was going to be more like The Raid, just as non-stop, just constant violence, constant action, constant adrenaline. He was actually right. It actually was a very slow burn, a lot like the kind of the Scorsese he was referencing. This movie is really two movies that have been carefully grafted together into one. It is very much it's like take Eastern Promises, Departed, White Heat, and then make sure to add in some of the more like the Gitano or the other like Chinese and Japanese gangster flicks, and kind of roll it all into one big dough, and that's the bulk of the movie. The remainder of the movie is very much the Gareth Evans hyper-violent, super crazy, over-the-top action extravaganza that we all know and love, and in this, he really did manage to outdo himself.
So, my problems with this movie. First of all, one of the great advantages of having The Raid was that it was in a very central location. There wasn't a lot of places we could diverge and get distracted, so it was very focused, well-driven narrative. This movie tends to meander a bit more. Ramna disappears for a huge chunk of it, and as kind of stated earlier, like getting distracted by things like the Japanese and stuff that don't really have big payoffs. I mean, as much as I love Yayan, he has a character in this movie who's wielding a machete, and they try to set up this really cool, like, sympathetic assassin character that they just pretty much blow off like 3 minutes later. I mean, I love seeing him around, but that wasn't. He became unnecessary. And so Phil mentioned that there's two movies here. Now, I don't mind grafting two movies together, and neither one of these movies is a bad movie. But I feel like they're grafted together a bit clumsily. Like, the martial arts movie here is very kind of shticky, very kind of Kill Bill or City of Violence style, while the gangster movie is trying to be a very serious, gritty gangster movie. And the vibes just kind of work against each other, and that just kind of brings the experience down a bit. That being said, still the best action movie of the year thus far. I still really like Gareth Evans' work. I'm certainly not going to say this is the beginning of the end of good Gareth Evans movies. Maybe a lot of stuff I didn't like will just pay off in The Raid 3, but as far as The Raid 2, I certainly was expecting a bit more as far as better screenplay and better focus, but outside of that, the action is still amazing. The elements that work so well that the elements that don't work are kind of overshadowed. You're certainly not going to be bored at 2.5 hours, but I mean, I feel like there's some fat that really just needs to be trimmed off this movie, is what it really boils down to. And it needs to have a consistent enough tone to really make sense. For me.
My score, I know people are gonna go. Our 3-4 fans out there. Actually, this is gonna be one of the big movies because this is The Raid. So,
Indonesia.
we need
your support
for you. But I know a lot of people are gonna be like, Journey to the West. Like, that's the same complaint. Well, yeah, except for its failings were a little bit more extreme and the downtimes were a little bit less useful as I go, because yes, I did have that complaint, and as everybody knows from my review on Journey to the West, that is a big one for me. But, bonus points, Gareth Evans can direct one mean car chase. We joked in the teaser review, cars are slotting the road. And it's actually just not even that far from the truth. It was inventive, creative. It drew a minor it escalated a minor character into a much more memorable presence. I'm going to remember that car chase scene for quite a while. It might be up there on the barometer for like this is how you do car chases.
Yeah, I don't want to oversell it, but I feel like it might be our generation's French Connection as far as just really. That is going to be the car chase I think car chases are going to be compared to for a long time.
Then added the fact that there's a 5-way fight going on inside one of the cars in the car chase.
Oh, you didn't think I could work slot into a car chase?
It's like a layer cake of car chase and martial arts and violence.
Gareth Evans expanded his action choreography team, I think, by 2 or 3 directors, and it really just shows in this movie because his mastery of the scale is definitely there.
But yeah, with the bonus points from not only it's all well and good when directors try new things, but they got to follow through on them, and that's not always fair. You don't know what's going to work every time, but you still get judged by the final product. So the bonus points for exploring new ground and executing it well and effectively, I'm going to go ahead and seal the deal and go ahead and give this one the first 10 I've ever thrown out.
Wow.
Damn.
This is non-stop. I mean, it's just you're dumb if you don't go see this movie. Like if you like action movies, just go see it.
For my rating, like as much as the flaws in the movie really do detract from it, I had a really good time. And I mean, the parts at work, you're not going to see a car chase that good anywhere else. You're not going to see anything as vicious or awesome as Hammer Girl and Baseball Bat Guy in any other movie. You're really... Gareth Evans is pretty much your one-stop shop this year for the really big, gritty action movie. So that being said, definitely 7.5 out of me. I know it sounds probably a little low. Part of it might be my expectations after the first raid have made it kind of a bit disappointing, but it is just a really good movie. I feel like this might be one of those transition movies in the next, like I think Raid 3 is where I'm really going to get really on board with Gareth Evans. But you know what? If this ends up being the worst Gareth Evans movies that ever get made, it's still pretty good.
I want to see this one come up as best foreign film, at least nomination.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
Unlikely, but very, very nice.
Yeah.
I'm honestly actually going to give this movie 2 different scores. Approaching the it's 2 movies mindset. Because, I mean, honestly, you could really almost just cut this thing into parts, glue all the related parts back together, and watch it as a functioning movie. Give or take one small moments. The gangster flick portion of the movie, I'm going to give it a solid 8. The martial arts portion, the Gareth Evans we were expecting when we got this movie, 10 out of 10. Hands down. He has brought it, like each new action movie I see him do, just it goes above and beyond the one prior. Somehow he tops everything he's done before. One thing I really just loved was this one. I think he got even more comfortable with the actors he's working with. Like Iko Uwais, we're seeing him actually really flex his muscles, because like where in Morantau he's supposed to be a young kid. In the Raid Redemption, I think it was kind of limited by the narrowness of like the hallways and the rooms. Like the kitchen fight, it covers like couple hundred square foot kitchen, and they go to every damn corner and punch him into every damn thing. And that is the kitchen fight
So
scene.
you have your 8, you have your 10. What would you say the sum total is?
Sum total, I mean, I'm going to go with the average of that is 9. Overall, this is a straight up 9 out of 10. I expect to see no action movie better than this year. I don't think anything's really going to be following it close to it until we see the Raid 3. The only way you can top the straight up just fun and enjoyment of this movie will be by going to a completely different style. Like, I expect Guardians of the Galaxy to be an absolute delight, but that is just the polar opposite of what we're looking for.
It's not even a different ballpark, it's a different sport.
Yeah, it's a different sport. Yeah. We've gone from baseball to cricket here.
Yes.
But, like, before we go, final thoughts on the kitchen fight scene, because we didn't touch on that in any kind of super big detail. That's the fight at the end, where in the trailers, in the second Red Band trailer, where it fades out, they both drop into the tight stance, they adjust their pants, and then they start scooching forward a little bit at a time. That fight scene is basically an entire movie in and of itself, because it utilizes every inch of that kitchen, using rapidly escalating levels of intensity from both fighters. Like at first it starts off a little playful, like well, we'll use the proper stances, like because this is going to be a challenge between equals. And then as it just scales up, both bring a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then the weapons come out, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more.
Until you can just pretty much hear the characters thinking, why won't you fucking die?
Yeah, like, it just actually becomes like, and you just see, like, this is the completely redefined standard for fight scenes. Like, that's just it. It sits up to, it's the current holder of the throne.
In the wise words of the Wu-Tang Clan, they brought the motherfucking ruckus.
Like, I cannot think of another one. Like, I've seen a lot of fight movies, and I've seen a lot of fantastic fight scenes. Like, Ip Man, everything. I'm gonna take the bold stance. I'm gonna say that fight scene blows them all away. There's none out there that's better.
So, I think in short, if you're lucky enough to have a theater near you currently playing the Raid 2, we got it for a whole, like, 4 days in this town.
Has it already left?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. And people have been asking us, like, why we haven't done a review for the movie yet. Because it took, like, 2 weeks to even get here.
It was a better part of a month for it to hit. We almost had to drive 130 miles west to go see it.
Right. So, like I said, if you're lucky enough to have the Raid showing near you, and I hear it's constantly expanding its run because it is getting some good reviews and apparently bringing in some dough.
Good.
Yeah, see it if you get a chance. There's no reason not to see it.
Yeah, there's no argument. There's nothing better. Like, what are you going to go see?
And if you are very interested, the Sony website for this movie actually has a theater locator. You can pull up that page to find what cinemas near you are playing this movie.
We will have a link in the description for that. In the meantime, go see the Raid 2. We'll be back next week with the Hong Kong recent smash hit Monkey King starring Donnie Yen. Till then, signing off, Foo Crew.
Don't forget to like the video, comment below if you have anything you'd like to see us do. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/FooCrewReviews. Subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you with our next review.
And we'll play a little game next time. Pick out your favorite fight scene from any movie you've ever seen, drop it below, and then we'll explain why this one was better.
The all-comers.
No holds barred. It stands on top. All challengers accepted.
So a special from Bro Lynn coming up in the near future. Check it out.
Have a great day.